Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt podcast. We've got Eric Young today. Eric, Chief, Chief Young. You're retiring.
I'm done. Yeah, I've been gone about 3 weeks, almost a month now. It's a weird feeling, to be honest with you, Senator.
Yeah. It's so what's going on with you?
Yeah, so I had an amazing 32 years at the Ogden Police Department. I came to the Ogden Police Department right out of Weber State University, started as a reserve, went all the way through the ranks, had some great experiences, learned some great things, and I felt so fortunate to spend the last part of my career being able to lead the department that I'd grown up in and had been mentored by so many people. And we really did some great things. But I had several of my mentors tell me, as you get farther along in your career, maybe over 30 years, you're just going to know when it's time to start thinking about getting up. Because, being a police chief is not a job you can ever do half or
Right.
3/4. It's either you're 100% in or you're out, because
Right.
you have to be all in. And I started to get a little bit of that feeling that maybe it's time to look, and the right opportunity just happened to come along.
And you're to the stage where you could have retired a while ago, right?
Yeah, 20 years. I was in that tier 1 portion of the retirement, fortunately, because I'd been there so long. Yeah, 20 years I was eligible. I never really gave it much thought at that point. But also, when I did my master's, I did it in business. And I always had in the back of my head that it's sometime during my working career that I wanted to go into the business world and see if I could have the same kind of success in the business world, knowing what I know. And so this just became a really unique opportunity. But it was heartbreaking. I have some great friends and the people. I love Ogden. I love the people in Ogden.
So what's going on in Ogden now? Have they got a new chief?
They have the Mayor Nadolski has appointed a chief to be Jake Suby, my deputy chief.
Oh,
and I'm very excited about that.
He's been there for a long time.
He has been there quite a while. He has a entire career long worker with the Ogden Police Department. Grew up in Ogden, knows Ogden very well. He's served on the SWAT team, the gang unit. He's been involved in 2 shootings since he's been with the Ogden Police Department. He's a man of character. He's a man of compassion, and I'm very happy. They're opening public comment through the city council at this point. They'll have a meeting with the city council, and then they'll confirm him here in the early part of October.
Oh, I see. So the mayor has appointed him, but he hasn't been confirmed yet.
Yeah, I still have to have the consent of the city council,
Right.
which will be taking place here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, very cool. So is he kind of acting in that role now? That you've retired?
Yeah, when I dropped the news on Mayor Nadolski and our CAO, Mayor Brown, they immediately, thought about what are we going to do in the interim, and then Jake was absolutely the right decision. So since I left in middle of August, he's been acting as chief of police.
Well, we inherited one of your finest out in North Ogden there, right?
I absolutely did. I love Brian. He's a great guy.
Yeah, Brian Ein, and what a coup for us in North Ogden.
Yeah, it was good for both. I mean, it was good. He was also looking for a new challenge, and people love being, policing in the area where they're policing their neighborhood.
Right.
Especially when you're the leader. It's your friends and your family and your neighbors you're taking care of.
Yeah, our mayor out there, Mayor Berube, has done an excellent job of promoting, the police department, and we just got a new building.
Yes, amazing building.
And so I mean we're thrilled.
Yeah, good things happening out there as well.
Yeah, there are. So let's talk a little bit about this opportunity that you have right now.
So it is in private business. The unique thing about this opportunity, the good thing I guess I should start with, is that it's working with law enforcement. So the people I love so much and I've had such great relationships with is who I'll be working with, because it's a technology product focused on government and law enforcement.
Oh, very cool.
And so coincidentally, though, the company is actually based out of Australia, where they've enjoyed great success
Amazing.
Working with New South Wales Police Department.
Uh-huh.
They currently work with some defense industry partners who also work here in the United States, and it's due to the level of encryption security they can provide to data and the ability for people to collaborate with highly confidential data in a safe and secure manner. And so,
oh, interesting.
So I saw the posting, and it was an opportunity for me to work from home and travel, and I enjoy traveling.
So is this a product that they're just introducing now to the United States?
It is just coming into this market. They've worked with a couple of customers due to their defense industry relations between Australia and the United States, but they hadn't made it a focus as a market to move their product until recently. And so I'm going to be expected to be that person out there growing that product in the U.S. market.
So explain to me a little bit about what this does.
What it does, there's the new and upcoming, and what will be the only kind of encryption in the future, is zero knowledge and zero trust encryption. When you provide your data to a lot of the large providers that we use these days, like Microsoft, Google. They have access to your data and your credentials. That's why you can reset your password when you
Right.
because they have that. This type of encryption, your vendor, your partner never has access to your data, whether it's being uploaded to their cloud environment, stored in their cloud environment, worked on in their cloud environment, or collaborated with somebody who's been given an invitation to collaborate on that document. So the use in law enforcement, for example, would be we have all these terrible school shootings that are taking place. It's caused us to create much better partnerships and collaborations between not only the school district and with our SROs, but mental health professionals.
Oh, wow.
School districts are dealing with FERPA protections for student information, as you know.
Yeah.
The health districts and mental health authorities are dealing with HIPAA protections for their. So this is very confidential data. We deal with CGIS data. All that data needs to come together very quickly and rapidly to create a solution to a problem if we feel a kid is becoming a threat. We can't have the barriers of one person's stored data here, our data's here, and we don't want to ever share outside our environment because we have protections on our data. In this environment, we'd all be able to create a collaborative document to immediately work on the threat assessment from the police department, the mental health evaluation from the mental health authority, and the background of discipline maybe for the school. They would all be able to share that data knowing that it's completely protected, encrypted.
So everything's encrypted when it goes on, and the only people that can decrypt it are people who've been invited
and logged in, and into that environment, and they'll be given permissions to what they can do. They may not be able to download it; they may be only able to view it. But the software also creates an audit trail of everybody who's touched that data and what they've done with that data the entire time it's in that environment. And the people who are so it may only be the police department who's a customer of this product; they would still be able to share that data with those two other entities, even if they're not.
Well, that's the beauty of the cloud, right? The availability of all of this information, but we have to worry about who has access to it, right?
Well, yeah, and as well as anybody, the state passed a very restrictive privacy law last year. We were educated in Ogden about that. We met with our new state's chief privacy officer,
right?
And unfortunately, a lot of things that are happening in government, in police.
I was on the committee that just confirmed him, right? And it was interesting.
Yeah, and so, but a lot of things that are normal practice in law enforcement, unfortunately, aren't always congruent with what we're expected to do to share and protect data. There are times you have to put an interview or a piece of digital evidence on a thumb drive and deliver it to a prosecutor. That's not in today's standards of data privacy a secure way to store and handle a piece of data. In this environment, you'd invite them to come in and use that product inside a highly encrypted, zero knowledge, zero trust environment.
Well, that's got to be a critical part of this new school safety initiative too, right?
Yeah, we think there's applicability for
sure. Yeah, because of the the people involved with that. In fact, I should have. Sometime we should sit down and talk with Ryan Wilcox about that because he was so instrumental.
And still is, absolutely.
Yeah. So for it. I tell you, that guy loves law enforcement.
He does.
Right. Well, we all do.
Well, I know, and that was the best part of my job, to be honest with you. Yeah. Even through the terrible riots in 2020, we had these horrible riots right after we lost Nate Lide.
Yeah.
He's shot and killed by this horrible person that's been abusing his wife and family for years and years. We lose one of our officers, wife lose a husband, and then we are asked to go 3 days later and support people who are doing horrible things in Salt Lake and rioting. Yeah. And I'm telling my officers, I know we're in mourning, we're in a bad place. They need our help. And what do? They put their gear on and we go and we help. But it was a hard time. But I never felt any lack of support in the Ogden community.
Yeah.
Not an ounce. We had the full support. We always have.
Well, I love what's happened to the police force in Ogden. I mean, we couldn't ask for a finer group of people. And I was amazed when the riots came into Ogden and didn't go anywhere.
They sure didn't.
Right? No, they could protest. They protested. They had their way, but
no. Chief Watt made it very clear there were boundaries.
Yeah,
and they understood you have a right to gather, to protest. As soon as something's damaged, as soon as somebody's injured, as soon as that line's crossed, we let them know we're here and we're ready to go, and we would be willing to do what we needed to do.
Yeah, amazing. We were talking, and on your new company, and you just happen to have some of the people from Australia with you.
Yeah, you guys reached out to get this podcast done. They happen to come in. They're spending a week in the Ogden area. They love the Ogden area, and they're onboarding me. And so I mentioned, well, they're here with me. This might be interesting. So I do have them here with me.
Yeah. So let's take a break and bring them in.
I would love that.
Okay, thanks. Hey Siri, how do I get to the state capitol?
John, the fastest way to get to the Capitol is to make a lot of empty promises, to get help from special interest groups and endorsements from politicians. You will also need to buy a better suit.
That's not going to work for me, Siri. You need to find another way.
John, listen to me. If you're going to win your race, you will need to play the political game. You also need to use more hairspray and buy a golden retriever. Also, a new phone case would be nice.
That's enough of this.
John, are you there? Did you just leave me on the road? Fine. Keep your principles, John.
My name's John Johnson. I'm not running to be part of a system, and I don't owe anyone special favors. I'm running to listen to and work for you. I'm running to get results. Welcome back to PoliticIt. Again, we got Eric Young with us, and you know, Eric's retired now. You've got this great opportunity. You know, Dekko's secure, right?
Yes, it is.
And we're fortunate to be able to talk to, you know, the brain team.
I don't know if I'd use that advisedly.
I certainly feel very fortunate to have them here.
Hey, yeah, let's why don't we introduce them to our audience, and let's talk a little bit about their backgrounds and what they're doing.
I would love to. So seated across from you is Jackie Nelson, and Jackie's the Chief Executive Officer of Dekko.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
CEO, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
And sitting here next to Jackie is Phil Lee, and he's the Chief Operating Officer of Dekko.
COO. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
You know, I was the tech guy in my company, so you know,
So you were the brains trust.
Well, they kind of you know, left me back in the, you know, the back room so people don't see me, but it's really fascinating building a company. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because you were one of the co-founders as well, right? So talk to me a little bit about what that process was like, and you know, where did the vision for this come from?
Yeah, really great question. So we started 7 or 8 years ago at a time when actually we had the co-founders are really smart technical guys, come from a mathematical and computer engineering background. And the impetus for our product, which is all about data privacy fundamentally, came when they were working inside really large organisations, so the Dimension Datas of the world. They were working as very senior solution engineers, and they realised that when they had to share really sensitive code or information for particular client projects that they were working on, when they were sharing this code amongst their developers and their team, that actually there was a real risk that lots of unknown people in the organisation could access this code. So it actually started them thinking about the whole privacy, sharing information online, and they actually wrote a little piece of code at that time. This was back in probably 2014, a piece of code that allowed them to share really sensitive information on behalf of a client inside their organisation and guarantee that nobody else in the organisation could get access to it. So literally just an idea of solving a very simple problem for themselves. And here we are in 2024 with data privacy being the single most important thing. Certainly in law enforcement, and you know, Eric can talk to this very nicely. You know, we're solving a really important problem. So took that piece of code essentially, built it into a product that now helps law enforcement agencies be able to.
So what was the idea of going into law enforcement? Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so
that's a good story. Go on, Jackie.
It is a good
Continue.
story. So when I joined the company, I came in sort of, before we had a product, we knew there was lots of problems in the market. We had lots of regulations starting to come down the line. We had GDPR coming out of the European market, privacy laws starting to emerge. And I came on and said, look, we need to work out if people really are going to consume and use this technology. And through people, that I was just talking to, I got introduced to an assistant commissioner of police, one of our largest state law enforcement agencies. And when I said to him, look, this is who we are, this is what we do, he said, I have been looking for a piece of technology that can help us move highly sensitive information in the way you're talking about. If what you're telling me is true, then you can help us solve a perennial problem. So we actually then worked with them for the next 12 months to actually build a solution that helped solve specific law enforcement problems. So really, really key, I think, to our success in the law enforcement space is that we developed this product deeply understanding some of the challenges of the global law enforcement sector.
So do you host your own data, or is this in the cloud, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we host in public cloud. So we host in the Azure cloud here in the United States. We obviously we're a sovereign solution in every country that we deliver to, knowing that data sovereignty is key today. So yeah, we host here in the US, Microsoft Azure, but can stand up in any region of the United States on any provider as per the law enforcement's requirements.
Yeah, people don't realize that these providers can provide security, right? But you're on a public cloud.
Yeah, that's right.
And so you have to have the ability to make sure that not even the provider can look at the data.
That's exactly.
And not even your own programmers can look at the data.
That's exactly right. And it's a new concept. For a long time, a lot of organisations didn't go to the cloud. Governments, education, law enforcement have always been very good at understanding the risks in the cloud and managing their data on-prem. But that's becoming a challenge. Obviously, we talked a little earlier about the amount of data that, is now being consumed and produced. That causes real challenges for organisations having to store data on-prem. So moving to the cloud absolutely makes sense, but you have to do it with the right level of security. So the zero-knowledge security model, which underpins the Dekko Secure value proposition, is all about allowing agencies to move to the cloud, get all of the benefits of the cloud in terms of its scale and cost efficiency, but be able to do it with guaranteed privacy and absolute knowledge that their data will never, ever be breached.
So it's not only about encrypting data. We've been able to do that for a long time, right?
That's right, yes.
So that's locking it up. So, and only the people with the key can look at it. But now you've got this problem of managing those keys.
That's right.
And managing access. You have to be able to give the keys to other people so that they can have access to it. But yet you want to make sure that, number one, I mean, you've got to have, I don't really want to call it chain of custody, but you have to know who's looking at it.
That's right.
Right?
Especially in the legal sector, yeah.
Yeah, because you have to be able to go back and audit
That's right.
the privacy, right? You have to be able to show, not only is this data secure, but here's the people who have seen it, right?
That's right.
And we know exactly who they are. Every time they look at it, we can tell, right?
Yep.
But yet we can maintain, and this is one thing I think a lot of people don't understand is that, you want to make sure that the vendor can't even look at the data.
That's exactly right. Too often in today's environment, I mean, we see breaches every day, all day, every day across the globe. Ransomware attacks, malware attacks, all sorts of things. And too often, those breaches are actually happening at the vendor level because organisations, law enforcement agencies, government, private organisations trust the vendors to look after their data for them. It's just, it's just the way that we've evolved. So the onus really is on the vendors now to do the right thing and start to truly protect this data. And encryption, there's not a cybersecurity professional anywhere in the world that will argue that encryption is not the safest way to protect your data. We know that data has to be protected using encryption, and end-to-end encryption and delivering it in the right way is absolutely where it's at.
Yeah, that idea of end-to-end, even if you host your own data, if you're going to be remote and logging into this data, it's going to go over a public network.
That's right.
Right? And so you have to make sure that that data is encrypted at the source
Yes,
and at the storage area, right?
that's right.
And you have to make sure that in between you can't get a man-in-the-middle attack that,
That's right.
that looks at
Yeah.
it, right?
So in transit, at rest, and at work, 3 really critical areas. And unfortunately today, a lot of vendors focus on encryption, but only at work and at rest.
And one of the, if I can just interrupt there, sorry, Jackie. One of the interesting things is I'm not a technologist, but we find there are some very good file sharing products being marketed by some huge companies, very well known, very popular, and they're great products, but they all mention the word security. So for most people, that's I can rely and I can trust on that claim. But if you're an organisation that has extremely private and sensitive information,
Right.
people are learning you cannot rely on those claims.
Right.
And of course, who reads the terms and conditions before you say, I agree to use this product? And if you actually went in and looked at the terms and conditions, which we did recently, you'd be absolutely amazed at what...
Of course, compliance people read them.
Well,
Right.
of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Right. Well,
Not many
right,
Of
that's
course.
true.
I'm sure there are people who do read them. Yeah.
And cybersecurity, I mean, my son's now, he got a degree in MIS, but he has gone back to school to get certificates in cybersecurity, right?
Yeah.
Those are important to be able to indicate that you've actually gone through this. But it's interesting how much of that is about making sure you have all the right rules and that you're compliant, right? It's not, doing intrusion tests and other things, that's one level. But you have to make sure that you've got that everywhere. And this isn't security, this is privacy, right?
It is, and it's such a critical issue for Utah. We just passed the Privacy Act, as you were a big part of last year, and we have a chief privacy officer for the state of Utah now to ensure that the state, local governments, counties are properly protecting and securing people's data. I think we're going to be a big part of that resolution. We've had a problem at our department we've been working to solve for more than a year now with one of our key and critical vendors trying to get us to move to the cloud, but our IT department just isn't convinced that our data is going to remain sovereign because a lot of their support and technical support is overseas, it's in India. Those people have to work on our products. So it's how can we guarantee that our data is sovereign, it's secure, it's protected, and it's not moving into an unprotected environment.
That's a
Well,
big issue.
especially in this era of AI, right?
Especially.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Because a lot of companies that deal with data, they find that the real value is owning that data and mining that data, right?
Absolutely,
But-
that's their business model.
Yeah.
But we don't want police data to be mined.
Absolutely
No.
not.
No.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very interesting times.
And of course, cybercrime is only getting worse.
Yeah.
I saw an article the other day that said by 2025, if you add up all the costs of cybercrime, and there's a number of variables that go in to make up the total cost of cybercrime, it will be equivalent to the 3rd largest economy on the planet.
Yeah, $10.5 trillion or something.
This year was US first, China second, cybercrime third.
One of the things that's happened in the legislature too that I see all the time. During the interim, I'm on the Judiciary Committee, which in the Senate also includes law enforcement, right? But one of the big moves now is not only privacy for people, but this whole idea of expungement,
Yes.
right? Taking people's records and cleaning them up, right? After they've served their time, after they've done what they had to do. How do you go back now and kind of erase that?
Yeah, wow.
Without it being a highly, highly manual, time-consuming
Right.
process that requires several more employees at every police department across the state. That's the true struggle.
Right.
To make it efficient.
Yeah.
Well, and if from the very first you thought about privacy, and who has access and where that chain is, you already know that you've solved part of that problem, right? And, part of the expungement process, you've got to be able to go in there and, worry about this.
Yeah, and know who's had access at what part of the life cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because every time someone's had access, are they able to copy that data? And now is it in another database, right? And how do you, and how do you protect that, right? And so your product then not only manages the security, but does it also manage? Well, we talked about access, right? Who's got access to it?
Yeah.
But access control may mean you have a right to look at it. You have a right to edit it.
Right.
You have a right to download it.
Permission
those are
controls.
all
They're permission controls as well.
Yeah. So that's fundamentally what we saw was happening was in law enforcement in particular and adjacent government departments, when it came to having to share highly sensitive information where those controls were fundamental. They weren't just a nice to have. They were absolutely fundamental to the life cycle of some of these confidential and highly sensitive documents. Think about, warrants for all sorts of things like that's, highly sensitive information. And access control is paramount. So agencies everywhere around the globe that we spoke to were very often reverting to manual processes, which can very often be secure. You get the outcome that you want, but it's not scalable. It's inefficient. All sorts of things can go wrong. Police officers can have car accidents. Also there's terrible inefficiencies. Occupational health and safety. I mean, one of the reviews of our technology at one of our largest state agencies was when they evaluated it after the first year that we actually significantly helped in the OH&S component of officers needing to move paper and deliver USBs manually. So they were getting their jobs done in a way that was much more secure than sending emails because we know that that's not possible and it's not the right way to do it today because the risks are too high. But they needed a solution that was totally secure but actually mimicked those manual processes.
And it's more efficient.
Yeah.
The other great thing is because it's in the cloud, you can get started straight away.
Right. And quite frankly, this idea of everybody having access, if that ends up on 100 different hard drives, how do you keep it private?
Yeah.
Well, it's no longer private.
It's no longer.
You can't verify any kind of privacy.
And so the control piece that you spoke about, Eric might be able to see the document but never download it. And he might just need to sign that document and it may not need to end up, we may not want it to end up on his servers for a whole host of reasons. But Phil, on the other hand, needs to actually download that document, to be able to print it, to do all sorts of things. So it's about giving that granular visibility and control and actually putting the control back in the hands of the people that are responsible for the data, rather than actually sending it out or hand delivering a USB. But what if it falls out of his bag on the way home? And there's been plenty of cases where USBs or DVDs have turned up with images of crime scenes or highly sensitive documents.
Information's been leaked,
Well, in the minute that gets into the court system, right, some of those documents become public. You have to have a way of not only making that public now because of that record, but you also have to worry about making sure that that you can actually trace back the chain of
Absolutely.
so that somebody could look at that document and go back to make sure that's the actual document.
That's exactly.
And it hasn't been modified.
Hasn't been modified. But not stopping people getting their jobs done. Often security becomes a barrier for people being able to do things. So I think that's why Dekko Secure has been so successful, because security is the given, always. We'd say very proudly that you never have to turn the security on and you can never ever turn it off. So every organisation that we work with knows that security is no longer now an issue. Now they just have to worry about getting their job done.
Right.
So, moving things, getting documents signed, being able to collaborate on documents in a live situation with the guaranteed knowledge that nobody can access that data when it's being worked on. I mean, in Australia, we had a law enforcement agency who were having to physically deliver police laptops across to the judicial system for certain areas of work. We've removed all of that pain and saved that police agency thousands of dollars a year. So, it's...
And they can trust it. I think that's the...
Yeah.
They can trust the process.
And some people don't understand that security and privacy aren't necessarily the same thing, right?
No, that's exactly
because
right.
there's different things that we have to worry about when we say we want it private.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And being able to guarantee security is hard, like you would know. It's not easy to build secure solutions. You often have to give something up.
There's a trade-off.
Yeah. There's a trade-off. So, I'm very, very proud of the solution that we're bringing to market. And I think that it solves very particular problems, and it's really going to make a difference in protecting data.
It's interesting. U.S. has some peculiar export laws when it comes to security, right? What happens the other direction?
That's a good question.
Yeah, we're a little more relaxed in Australia around export laws, but we certainly understand and respect the laws here in the United States. So we understand our rights and responsibilities in relation to those. Australia being a small country, we're an innovative country, absolutely. But, we work very closely with the United States. So we absorb a lot of United States technology, and we use it, some of your...
I think we're also
companies.
encouraged to grow our technology businesses and export the technology.
Yeah.
I think it's good for to the right places, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always a problem.
Yeah.
Law enforcement.
Well, this is fascinating discussion, and it's really neat, Eric, to see. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned before you have an MBA, right? You've kind of prepared yourself, not only your background in law enforcement, but now you're venturing out into business. It's really kind of cool.
It's very exciting. As I said, I'm working to start up a company from ground up, basically in the United States. But it was the companies I learned more about them. I believed in the product, and one of the primary reasons that Jackie just mentioned is the efficiency piece. In Ogden City, we're not overwhelmed with funding and staffing and an abundance of people, but we got things we got to get done. So efficiencies matter. Every hour of every officer, every employee is critical, and so we implement solutions that decrease efficiency. We're not gaining anything. We have to implement solutions that increase efficiency, and that's what I saw coming out of this.
Well, this is fascinating. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to have a podcast with Oh yeah, we brought these guys.
A couple of Aussies.
Australia. Yeah. It's kind of like, well, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So,
Senator, could I be cheeky and just let people listening our website if they want more information?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So
that's really important.
If that's okay, so it's simply www.dekkosecure, DEKKO secure, one word, .com.
Okay, and we'll have the magic happen where we'll actually bring that up on the screen.
Oh, that'd be great.
Kevin can take care of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week.